wait 10 seconds before starting the meeting.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask if everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilman Jim O'Connor. Jim?
He might be muted.
I'm now unmuted. I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag
Of the
of the United States of America,
to the republic
the republic for which it stands,
one nation
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, liberty,
liberty,
and justice
for all.
Thank you. There is one change of zone public hearing scheduled for this evening, and it is TC 5352 Trek Bayshore LLC. Before we begin, anyone wishing to address the board regarding our scheduled public hearing this evening should have already filled out the online registration form. If not, please either use the raise hand function on Zoom or type into the Q&A line stating that you wish to speak. If you are participating by telephone and wish to speak, you can press *9 on your phone to raise your hand. I'll give everyone a few minutes to do this. And just remind everyone on the public hearing, as always, you have 3 minutes. Okay, I would now call on the town clerk, Olga Murray, to please read the hearing notice.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Tonight's change of zone hearing is TC 5352 Trek Bayshore LLC. Notice is hereby given that the town board of the town of Islip will hold a public hearing on Thursday, September 17th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom webinar and will be streamed live over the internet on the application of Trek Bayshore LLC. Applicant requests a change of zone from business district to downtown development district in order to construct an apartment house consisting of 418 apartments. Site plan modifications are required as part of this application. The environmental impacts will also be assessed on this property located in the Bay Shore School District on the southeast corner of Union Boulevard, County Route 50, and 4th Avenue, Bay Shore, 1700 Union Boulevard, Town of Islip, Suffolk County, New York.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Okay, we are prepared then for the applicant to make their presentation.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor and members of the board. Appearing on behalf of the applicant, Eugene L. DiNicola, 200 Railroad Avenue, Sayville, New York. The applicant is seeking a change of zone for the subject property from Business District, BD, to Downtown Development District, DDD, to construct an apartment building consisting of 418 apartments. I will present an overview of the proposed project. Following my presentation, the following subject areas will be discussed by experts in the area of concern: architecture, materials and layout, and traffic and parking. I do have other experts available to answer any questions for the board with regard to any site, civil engineering, economic benefits, etc. The subject site is located on the south side of Union Boulevard between 3rd Avenue and 4th Avenue, extending south to Mechanicsville Road, Bayshore. The site is 1 block north of Main Street, which is also known as Montauk Highway, which area is the center of the Bayshore Business District. Along the west side of 4th Avenue is a mix of offices, businesses, and multifamily housing. To the northwest across Union Boulevard is the Bayshore train station. It is literally a 1-minute walk from the subject site. Along the north side of Union Boulevard, across from the subject site, are business uses, a 7-Eleven convenience store, Family Dollar store, laundromat. There is a veterans building for veterans benefits and other uses. To the south is the Verizon building that's across Mechanicsville Road, a public parking field, and the back of the buildings which front on Main Street. The subject parcel contains 10.34 acres and, as previously stated, is bordered on 4 sides by roads, north, south, east, and west. The site currently has erected thereon a 4-story building occupied by Toro College School of Health Sciences. 3 stories are habitable space and occupancy. The 4th story is set back, is used for mechanical equipment and facilities. Surrounding that structure is an expansive parking area with only street trees bordering the site. The site currently has 2 curb cuts on 3rd Avenue, 2 curb cuts on 4th, and 2 on Mechanicsville Road. Now, as we may know, Toro is relocating its health sciences teaching facility to its Central Islip campus, and the existing building will become vacant. The applicant proposes to demolish the existing 4-story building and any other improvements existing on the site. The applicant will erect thereon a new, well-designed 4-story building consisting of 418 residential apartment units with 20,000 square feet of interior amenity space and over 50,000 square feet of exterior amenity space. The project, after discussions and hearings before the planning board, has been reduced substantially by some 77 units or 127 bedrooms, and the height was reduced from 5 stories to 4 stories. Now, the apartment unit mix will consist of 52 studio apartments, 237 1-bedroom, 117 2-bedroom, and 12 3-bedroom. The majority of the reduction was the 3-bedroom units. The proposed development will provide 618 parking stalls, of which 85 will be land banked, and that the land banking will take place along Union Boulevard. Within the parking area north of the proposed building will be a large triangular shaped area which will be landscaped. On the south side of the site, the parking area will be in the interior courtyard of Mechanicsville Road. I'm sure the board has a site plan or has reviewed the site plan, and you'll see the interior parking area. Portions of the surface parking will be beneath the building, that is to say, under the upper floors of the building. This is on the Mechanicsville Road side, and they will be screened from the adjoining streets. The site will have 1 full service access curb on 4th Avenue, that's in and out, to ingress and egress to the parking area on the north side. And there will be 1 ingress curb cut and 1 egress curb cut, which will serve for off-street passenger drop-off and delivery drop-off at a resident portico-chair. And again, that is shown on the site plan. There will be an ingress and egress curb cut on 3rd Avenue to accommodate the vehicles entering and exiting on the north side. And that will be a right turn in and right turn out curb cut. There will be no curb cuts on Union Boulevard. The proposed residential buildings, and there is a site plan up on the screen now, will have an approximate setback of 202 feet from Union Boulevard, 25 feet from 3rd Avenue, 22 feet from 4th Avenue, and 6 feet from Mechanicsville Road. That is the area closest to the shopping area, which is 1 block south. The setback area between the sidewalk and the building will be professionally landscaped, creating an attractive streetscape to complement the building's exceptional architecture. An architect will describe the materials and the building style elevations at the end of my presentation. Existing mature trees will be preserved wherever possible. The proposed development will provide the following amenities: off-street loading and unloading for deliveries, off-street passenger drop-off area. Decorative street lamps will be installed along Union Boulevard, 3rd Avenue, 4th Avenue, and Mechanicsville Road with the Bayshore lighting fixtures in keeping with the beautification program for the downtown area. High quality Class A private indoor recreational facilities will be provided, which will include a fitness center, a game room, pool tables, club rooms, lounges, co-working and shared areas for work at home space, and even a dog wash station. Private outdoor amenity space will consist of an interior courtyard with a swimming pool, barbecue stations, fire pits, heavily landscaped courtyard area for outdoor relaxation and picnic area. And there will also be a rooftop pavilion and terrace for resident enjoyment. There will be auto charging stations, bike racks, and a bike repair station. The architectural design of the buildings will have elements of prior historical buildings that graced Bayshore's past. The building will have elevators and will be fully sprinkled. There'll be on-site management with secured and controlled building access. The applicant has worked closely with the planning staff and members of the community throughout the design and planning process, and the applicant will continue and looks forward to continuing to work with the community and the town during the site plan process. As I indicated, the architecture will be addressed in greater detail following my presentation. Now, the subject site, which is designated on the Suffolk County tax map as District 0500, Section 393, Block 03, Lot 021.001, is specifically listed in Section 68-180.3 of the ordinance as one of the parcels to be within the extent of the downtown development district for Bayshore. Subsection A of 68-180.3 states that, quote, town board may amend the zoning of a parcel or parcels of land to a downtown development district, DDD, only within those areas described as follows. And of course, the subject parcel is listed within those tax map numbers. So the zoning district, which the applicant is seeking to change the zone, was considered for development in the DDD district when the ordinance was legislatively approved. The development is in furtherance of and consistent with the policies and objectives of the Town of Islip Comprehensive Plan. The subject parcel will meet the development standards of the Downtown Development District. When Touro College vacates the site next year, instead of potentially having a building and property that may not have a cohesive development plan and therefore be a potential economic albatross for Bayshore, the applicant is providing a development plan which will provide immediate and lasting benefits for Bayshore and its downtown business district, especially following the adverse economic impacts which has been caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The development by the applicant will promote a more efficient use and development for the Bayshore Downtown Center. It will conserve and enhance the value of other buildings and businesses. It will provide a broader range of housing choices. It will reduce automobile transportation demand since it will be located across the street from the Bayshore train station on the Long Island Railroad Montauk line. It is also near the bus lines and stops of Suffolk Transit. It'll create pedestrian traffic to the shopping district on Main Street, 1 block south, benefiting personal service shops, local stores, and restaurants. Since the pandemic, home delivery for restaurants and food markets has increased dramatically, and this development will provide an additional economic support for such businesses. If one just walks south on Maple Avenue, which is across the street from 4th Avenue, continuation of 4th Avenue, you can walk to the Fire Island Ferry, and go to one of the greatest recreational areas in the country, and that's approximately a half a mile south. Fourth Avenue is the route of the Bayshore Bayway Corridor, which is a town project to connect the Bayshore train station to the Fire Island Ferry Terminal. This project, proposed by the applicant and as a stated purpose of the DDD zone, is designed to strengthen the social and economic stability of the town's Hamlet Center by improving the working, shopping, and living environment. The Downtown Development District purposely permits a higher density for housing and development because density creates the necessary pedestrian traffic to support and enhance a thriving downtown business district. This proposed development is precisely what the heart of downtown Bayshore requires to perpetuate and preserve the renaissance of the business district, which so many people have worked so hard to accomplish. This development will keep the renaissance of Bayshore moving in a positive direction. It is especially timely for the substantial investment being made to inject an economic stimulus as we claw out of this economic downturn from the pandemic. This is a $165 million plus transformative project for Bayshore and the town of Islip at large. The proposal of a downtown development district for the subject site creates a walkable community and provides the necessary mix of housing that is in demand today by couples, families, seniors, and singles. Its proximity to the Bayshore train station creates the ultimate transit-oriented development. As the board may know, Southside Hospital, which is now South Shore University Hospital, has completed construction of a 5-story parking garage at the southwest corner of Union Boulevard and North Montgomery Avenue. The hospital is in the process of pursuing the construction of a 6-story pavilion building and has received the approval for same. In fact, we are cutting the check for the 15 cents per square foot for the building permit. This will entail hiring of new medical personnel, including nurses, medical technicians, and doctors. And that hospital operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you have 3 shifts operating will be operating in the new pavilion building as well as the balance of the hospital. If this change of zone as proposed by the applicant is approved by this board, it will provide the housing that the medical personnel will be seeking and will be within walking distance to the hospital. This is a perfect first-class housing development for a growing professional community in a thriving downtown Hamlet Center. Additionally, this development is located in the center of the Bayshore area, 1 block north of Main Street. It will permit the residents to walk anywhere from the Forum Diner on the west to Southside Hospital, on the east from the train station, on the north to the ferry terminal on the south, without taking an automobile. Aside from the multiple benefits the proposed development will bring to the Bayshore Business District and the town of Islip at large, it provides much needed multifamily housing. When you have such an imbalance as presently exists, in particular with regard to first-class housing, as herein proposed, the supply and demand imbalance results in a higher cost of living. There is a need for rental apartment units, especially first-class apartments, as is proposed herein and in the revitalized downtown Bayshore. The proposed development will continue to enhance a thriving downtown Bayshore. In addition to the economic benefits to the downtown businesses, the subject 10-acre parcel currently yields no real estate taxes for the town of Islip or the Bayshore School District. It will now be placed back on the tax rolls for the benefit of the town and the Bayshore School District. During the construction phase, the project will generate approximately 880 construction jobs, $55 million in direct construction earnings, plus $142 million of construction spending within Suffolk County. Post-construction, during operation, spending from the proposed development's new households will create approximately 155 new jobs with a total earning impact of $6.6 million. The anticipated annual spending which will occur from the development's new residents within the town of Islip will be approximately $13 million. Now, with regard to school-age children, the proposed development is projected to generate 38 children, that's 0.09 students per unit, to attend the Bay Shore school system based on the projection of the Real Estate Institute of Stony Brook. Vision Long Island estimates 11 children using their formula, and that equates 0.026 students per unit. In either case, it represents an enrollment of 0.2% to 0.64% of the total enrollment of the Bay Shore School District. The applicant intends to comply with town board requirements regarding affordable housing. The affordable housing component should consider that which exists in the Bay Shore Hamlet area and the income levels and services, as well as the amenities and services provided by this exceptional standout project. Covenants and restrictions have been substantially agreed to with staff. The applicant has agreed to provide approximately 1,640 square foot food service space to be located at the southwest corner of the building, at 4th Avenue and Mechanicsville Road. It is anticipated that it'll be open to the public so that there will be on-street parking for those non-residents intending to patronize this commercial space. There are 13 existing on-street parking spaces on Mechanicsville Road adjacent to the applicant's proposed commercial location. The applicant has met with community organizations, including the Bay Shore Chamber of Commerce, Bay Shore Restaurant Association, Bay Shore Business Improvement District, the Lions Club, the ownership of the Long Island Fire Island Ferry, Northwell Health, Long Island Association, and trade units. I've lost a picture here or something. Okay, there's no signal. Can you hear me, Madam Supervisor?
Yep, you're back on. Okay, keep talking.
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm sorry we had a little technical difficulty here. I don't have a picture.
You do.
I'd say over 80 letters in support of this development have been submitted for the board's review. Unanimous approval has been granted by the Islip Town Planning Board, and the Suffolk County Planning Commission has given its recommending approval for the applicant's development. At this time, Madam Supervisor, I would like to present testimony from at least two experts. The first will address the architecture, and then the second will address traffic. I'll have them be brief, and then I will have a summary, Madam Supervisor, if I may proceed.
Thank you, Jean. I did hear brief, so that's a good thing.
Okay. At this time, is Salvatore Coco available?
Yes. Good evening. Yeah.
Mr. Coco, would you please describe for the board the architecture briefly for the architecture and the amenities for the board?
Yes. Good evening. Salvatore Coco, BHC Architects, 1300 Walt Whitman Road, Melville, New York. Tonight I'm going to present the architecture for Trek Bay Shore Transit-Oriented Multifamily Redevelopment Project. We're going to start with looking at the existing conditions. This is a view looking north, Mechanicsville on the bottom of the page, 4th Avenue and 3rd, existing Touro College in the middle. One of the nice things about the existing site is the buffer zone and the trees around the perimeter. We intend to keep that as much as we can. A view here along the south again, this is Mechanicsville Road, and a block away is Main Street. Here is our site plan. And as I said, we set the building back from the street and from the property line in order to preserve as much as we can of these existing trees that buffer the site. The building screen on-site parking is also screened from public view by being in this eternal courtyard around this entire perimeter. And on the north side, we have a combination of landscaping masonry walls, and estate fencing to also screen parking. Various setbacks along the facade and indentations create courtyards and interim pedestrian access points. You'll notice that the building is situated towards the south end of the site, this being south in this direction. And this was reviewed in depth with various community stakeholders, members from the town, property management, and Tritech's construction team. It was preferred that the building be located as close as possible to Main Street to further activate the Bayshore Business District and to keep in line with the area's sense of a downtown feel. And from a construction point, if the building were to be located at the north, where the grade is actually higher, we'd have to raise the building higher, which would mean importing a lot more fill, increasing the height of the building, and making the building even taller. Lastly, the south end of the site allows for a more easily achieved handicap accessibility throughout the entire site. When we started thinking about the architecture for this new development, one of our primary concerns was to ensure that the architecture fits into this setting. With that in mind, we looked towards the existing and also past local architecture's inspiration. As is common on Long Island, we see various architectural styles. At one time, Bayshore was mainly a summer destination, and there were many hotels that served as fine references. The colorful banners that line the New Cortlandt Hotel provided a vibrant texture to the facades. The Prospect Hotel with its vertical elements, the projected balconies at the Shanley House, the Linwood Hotels with the extended porches. Some of the more fun and colorful buildings like the Brightwater Casino also come to mind. Although not shown here, simple gabled roof structures like the original Long Island Railroad Station and the old bathing pavilion at the Great South Bay offer inspiration for this development. Along the existing commercial corridor, there are public buildings that still exist today, such as the old firehouse, which is now Napper Tandy's Pub. And you also can see a lot of corner towers that frame vistas and establish a sense of place. The most enduring and specific architectural example that quickly comes to mind is Sacticos Manor and its colonial revival architecture. And we've actually included some of the fine masonry elements that you see in Sacticos Manor around the perimeter of the site with our masonry landscape walls and accents. I'll start with the top. This is the entry element, the entrance to the development. And this is a view from the ground level. And as you can see, the ground level is raised, a raised entry. And you drive up here to the main entry. This is an arrival experience at a high-end development. There's a drop-off area, covered drop-off area, and a courtyard, which allows for residents to unload their passengers or packages at the lobby and proceed to park their car. Residents can walk unencumbered with packages from the car to their building. As we start to move along, we go down 4th Avenue headed south. As you can see, we're using a traditional architecture, harkening back to those earlier buildings we showed you earlier. Our design intent for a large development like this is to design it as a group of individual buildings, make them seem scale appropriate, and give the impression that they were developed over time, that each could stand alone as a building from top to bottom. Along 4th Avenue, this collection of townhouses with front porches and doors provide access to these units. They each have a unique feel, each with an individual smaller scale statement of different materials and colors. You can see masonry, stone, clapboard, attic story with different elements of cladding. As we get closer to Mechanicsville, these townhouses and brownstones become more animated at the lower level by activity at the amenity space and also the commercial space at the corner here of Mechanicsville and 4th Avenue. The walk now from the Long Island Railroad to Main Street, or vice versa, is going to be much more pleasant experience as a pedestrian walking along here than that vast open parking lot that we showed you earlier. As we get to Mechanicsville and 4th, I'm sorry, Mechanicsville and Third. This is again a group of buildings, but they're wider and a little bit more grand. Again, we're screening the parking with the buildings. There are apartments in here, and inside in that courtyard is the parking. As we get closer to up along Third Avenue, the buildings still have apartments on the ground level. As a group of buildings, this was the corner one, and it continues up. And this mid-block building on Third is reminiscent of Saginaw Coast Manor. We wrap all the way around to Union. We close out the perimeter of the building. And this building has projected balconies with canopies. Canopies are clad in standing seam metal roof. The top floor is an attic story, what we call an attic story, where it's a different color and a different material to set the scale and then provide a scale. And at the corner, along the sidewalk, we have an arrival gateway celebrating this information display and the Bayway Ferry Corridor, which the town has identified as a key link between the train station, Main Street, and the ferry. We have generous use of masonry, landscaping, decorative lighting, and wayfinding, making the pedestrian experience much better. And these are similar to what you might have seen at Saginaw Coast Manor along Union. In closing, from an overall perspective, we're making immediate access for pedestrian traffic in several locations around the perimeter of the site. It provides quick and direct access to the commercial corridor, supports the continued revitalization of downtown Bayshore. The pedestrian experience for the residents, for the general public, will be more pleasant, safer, and welcoming. We've kept loading for passengers and freight off the street and onto the site and not affecting the public way. As a part of the Bayshore community, this development links the train to the downtown, and we're doing this in a way that meets the intention of the Downtown Development District, providing architecture inspired by Bayshore. Now, some of the elements here that make this into a very high-end development are the amenity spaces, Class A amenity spaces. The development will offer first-class spaces, interior spaces, including a fitness and aerobics center, comfortable lounges, fireplaces, dog wash station, shared business center. And these are actual images of other developments that TriTech has done throughout Long Island, including the Alston in Ronkonkoma, the Shipyard in Port Jefferson, and New Village in Patchogue. And these are the interior amenity examples. And these are exterior amenity examples, heavily landscaped courtyards, pool deck, barbecue stations, fire pits, rooftop terraces, all promoting the idea of community. And I'm going to hand it back to Gene.
Thank you very much, Sal. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Coco at this time regarding architecture while we're on the subject?
I do have a question. The bus stop that's presently on Union Boulevard, is it planned there will be a bus stop along Union Boulevard?
I'm not sure if I'm the one who can answer that.
There's one right now, I think.
Yeah, this is Dan Winkleman from VHB. I'm the traffic engineer. I should be able to help with that answer.
Okay, I
Okay.
tell you what,
And handle it as part of your presentation then.
Was somewhat, I mean, I do talk about public transportation. There is a bus stop that is located along Union Boulevard currently. If it were to be continued, you know, there may be modifications that the county may request to it. There may be modifications to it from site plan review or from the board. But as of now, it is slated to maintain in its location. There are 2 other bus stops along the perimeter of the site as well.
Yeah.
Well, if that were to remain, obviously, it would be a candidate for major rehabilitation. Because
and-
all of the renderings that I've seen here, that certainly would stick out like a sore thumb.
you're talking about making the bus stop more attractive, Madam Supervisor, yes?
Yeah,
That will be definitely addressed by the applicant.
and I would assume that if this were to go forward and that bus stop was there amongst all the lush landscaping and everything that you plan, that it would be monitored, because right now it sort of serves as a
Homeless shelter.
homeless shelter. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are certainly things that we can do to address that. There are bars that you can put on the seats that help divide the seats up. There are different style canopies that can make it, covered from the weather, but still open to weather. I've done this on other projects where we've worked with the transportation company. In this case, it would be Suffolk County Transit, where we, propose a different type of bus shelter as part of a beautification part of the site.
Mhm.
And we could certainly open up that dialogue with them.
Thank
Madam
you.
Supervisor, I had a question for the architect, if I could.
Certainly, Councilman.
In an effort, and perhaps Mr. Di Nicola as well, in an effort to bring myself up to speed on the application and following it along at the planning board, I did a little due diligence, visited the applicant's projects, both in Ronkonkoma and Patchogue, spent some time on their website. It seems that the look that they go for, and I'm not an architect, forgive me, but seems the look they go for is consistent with what I'm seeing on 3 of the elevations that are before us tonight, both the 4th Avenue, the 3rd Avenue, and the Mechanicsville Road look. I know the architect went to some time explaining to the board why they went for that look and the historical significance of it. And then they lose me when I get to the elevation along Union. It just loses me. I'm not sure that I see that in any of the other developments that the applicant has done. For me, as I look at the elevation along Union, it just doesn't do it for me. It seems to be, I'm sorry. So that's a little better than what was presented to us on the last round. The round that we had that had been submitted to us by Sean. Sean, is that the same version that you shared with the board?
No, these were just revised today, so we didn't have
Oh.
a chance to forward those to the board before tonight's hearing.
Because I think what we were
And
looking
I'll
at,
withdraw my
Councilman.
question. I'll withdraw my question.
No, I think what Councilman O'Connor was referring to would be slide 10, that rendering that we received last week. And that certainly would not be acceptable at all.
Yeah, it seemed to me that it was not in character with the other developments that I've seen the applicant do.
Yeah.
But now I'm presented with new information tonight, which I didn't have available till just now. So I'll withdraw my question and my comment.
Those,
You know-
first of all, the rendering that we see here now on the screen has a whole different coloring than what we had in slide 10. There are awnings on that top floor that weren't existing on the previous slide 10 that I think both Councilman O'Connor and I found a little bit not in keeping with the other 3 sides of the project.
This, Madam Supervisor, was modified following comments from planning, which I do believe came through Councilman O'Connor. And this revision was just submitted today to planning for our presentation this evening. We hope that this elevation is certainly acceptable to you and Councilman O'Connor.
Madam Supervisor, can I also?
Certainly, Councilwoman.
So when I'm looking at the elevations for the side of the building that looks onto Union, I'm seeing people walking, I'm seeing trees, but I'm not getting a big picture of the building. Do you understand? Like when I look at the other 3 elevations for this building, I see the architectural design, but when you show me the Union Boulevard one, I just see people walking on the street and I'm having a hard time getting a grasp of if you could just show me a better elevation of the Union side part.
Well,
Is
our
that
renderings
is that
were
because
taken from the perimeter. So we're taking our view from back here, and the other ones are, we're taking it from the public part of the development. We did not do the rendering from inside the courtyard because we were mainly concerned.
How far is the Union Boulevard construction set back from the sidewalk as opposed to the other three sides? Because I think that's probably why you're seeing that different look.
Madam Supervisor, I feel like like three sides of the building are, architecturally what TriTech offers in many communities, but then the fourth side of the building that faces Union is not acceptable.
Are you looking at the one they gave us previously or the present one that's up on the screen now?
Well, the present one that's up on the screen now, you see very little portions of the building. You're seeing far away, you're seeing shrubs and pretty people walking. But I'm troubled by that because I'm not getting a clear view of what the Union side looks like, because what I can see of the buildings, I don't like the Union side of the building. The other three sides architecturally are as beautiful as the other work that TriTech has done in other communities. But this particular side, I think needs work. It needs to be revisited.
The elevations, Councilwoman, the photos for the elevations were taken from the sidewalk, and that's why this view looks like it is recessed, because it's 202 feet away from the sidewalk on Union Boulevard, whereas the other elevations are 25 feet away, and on Mechanicsville, 6 feet. So that's why you might not get the same feel. Obviously, this elevation has been redesigned from the original one that had been submitted, but it is, I assure you, equally attractive to the TriTech reputation.
But Council, what I'm telling you is that in my opinion, and I'm not an architect, in my opinion, the other three sides of the building are following lines of what TriTech offers to other communities. I want to know why the Union side of the street is not conforming to what they all often offer people.
Well, we can continue to work with you to address your concerns regarding the architecture for Union Boulevard. We certainly don't want to make it any less attractive than the other three streets, that's for sure. And we will continue to work with planning and your office, Councilwoman, if you like to see something different. I know Mr. Coco will be able to address any concern you have with regard to elevation, architecture, and attractiveness and materials. That is a given. We made this change.
I respect the applicants' projects. They always do really beautiful projects in all of the communities that they work in. I just feel like if there was a way for them to save money, maybe it was on this side of the street. I just don't. I want it to look as nice as the other three sides of the street. That's all.
I could interrupt for a second.
Jean? Excuse me, one person at a time, please.
Jean?
And folks, the supervisor runs the meeting, so ask her for permission to take the floor, because it's the only way we're going to get through the Zoom situation.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bergen, for reminding me that I run the meeting.
I was
Jean, I think you wanted to say something.
Reminding everybody else who's on
Thank
Zoom.
you. Thank you so much.
Over everybody.
I do believe the applicant's representative was speaking, so why don't we let him complete his sentence?
Thank you. Madam Supervisor, if I could, it's Bob Coughlin, if I could make a comment.
Please do.
I can assure the Councilwoman that the north side, the Union Avenue Boulevard side, will have as much architectural detail as the other three sides. And if you'd like, we will work with you to address that, make sure you're satisfied that it conforms with the character and fits into the fabric of the community.
Bob, I don't know that it's just my concern. I don't think I stand alone on this.
Rob, whoever's concerned, I'm assuring you that we will make sure that the three sides, the fourth side matches the other three sides in quality.
Thank you, Bob.
I know that this concern was raised not too long ago, and certainly the original renderings that we received, particularly slide number 10 of Union Boulevard, this thing that we're looking at tonight is a vast improvement. And I'm sure that with some tweaking, it will be even better. So, I thank you for being responsive. Now, you had someone else, Jean, who you wanted to share some
Yes,
testimony.
I'm going to have Mr. Winkleman submit some traffic testimony for the board, and I'll do a summary, and then if the board has any questions or with regard to any portion of the application with reference to site, I have a civil engineer, I have other, or if they have any questions with regard to economics, et cetera, I have someone who can submit testimony. So at this time, Mr. Winkleman, have you prepared a traffic impact study for this project?
I have.
And would you please share with the board the manner in which you developed the traffic impact study regarding peak hours, parking, et cetera?
Sure, I'd be happy to address the board at this time and summarize my traffic study and its findings.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of the board. My name is Daniel Winkleman of VHB Engineering with offices at 100 Motor Parkway, Hauppauge, New York. As mentioned by Mr. Di Nicola, I was retained by the applicant to conduct a detailed traffic impact study to evaluate the potential impacts to the transportation system surrounding the site. As part of my work, I also conducted an extensive evaluation of the off-street parking provided. I should note that during this process of preparing my study, I worked in very close consultation with the town's planning department and the town's traffic consultant, as well as the Suffolk County Department of Public Works, since the project is located along Union Boulevard, a roadway which is under their jurisdiction. In regard to my traffic study, I studied a total of 7 signalized intersections, 3 unsignalized intersections, and the site's primary driveways. I also studied the driveways that serve the Touro College to understand how much traffic it currently generates in order to take credit for the traffic that would be removed from the roadway network. The study area encompassed Union Boulevard between Clinton Avenue to the west and 2nd Avenue to the east. It also included 4th Avenue between Main Street and Union Boulevard, as well as 3rd Avenue between Union Boulevard and Mechanicsville Road. This study area encompassed the primary routes to and from the site, as well as the intersections that would receive the highest increases in traffic volumes from the project. The specific intersections studied, starting with the signalized intersections, are as follows: Howells Road at 5th Avenue, Main Street at 4th Avenue and Maple Avenue, and Union Boulevard at the following cross streets: Clinton Avenue, 5th Avenue, 4th Avenue, 3rd Avenue, and 2nd Avenue. The unsignalized intersections were as follows: Mechanicsville Road at both 4th Avenue and 3rd Avenue, and Brook Street at 3rd Avenue. My study evaluated elements such as safety, the site's access, the availability of public transportation. It incorporated traffic from other planned developments in the area identified by planning. It evaluated existing and no-build traffic conditions at each of the study intersections, as well as future conditions after the project is completed, which is commonly referred to as the build condition. The study also assessed the need for traffic mitigation measures, as well as the adequacy of the off-street parking provided. As part of my work, I conducted turning movement counts at all 10 intersections on a typical weekday during the AM peak period, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., and during the PM peak period, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. We also conducted turning movement counts on a typical summertime Saturday during the midday peak period from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. These peak hours were selected to capture the peak activity of the roadways surrounding the site, as well as summertime conditions. I also had to estimate how much traffic the project would generate. For this task, I utilized the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual, commonly referred to as ITE. It's a nationally recognized resource for estimating the amount of traffic certain land uses generate, such as the proposed. Based upon our intersection capacity analyses done for each of the 10 intersections, the overall intersection level of service would not change at any of the study locations when comparing the no build to the future build condition results. While the overall level of service were acceptable at all locations, there were 2 locations where individual movements experienced drops in level of service. Therefore, I proposed mitigation. Most specifically, at the intersection of Howells Road and 5th Avenue, the southbound left turn movement level of service changes from E to F during the weekday PM peak period. In order to mitigate the impact, signal timing adjustments were recommended, and upon implementation of those signal timing adjustments, the level of service would return back to level of service E, which is the same level of service that's experienced in the no-build condition. Additionally, at the intersection of 4th Avenue and Union Boulevard, the northbound left turn movement level of service would change from C to D. In order to mitigate this minor impact, a northbound protected left turn phase is proposed. Upon implementation of the changes to the phasing, the level of service for this movement would improve from level of service D to level of service B, which is a significant improvement considering in the no build condition, it would operate at a level of service C. It's important to note both of these intersections are under the jurisdiction of the Suffolk County Department of Public Works, and they would determine if the mitigation was actually needed. In regards to the site's access, we work very closely with planning and the town's traffic consultant to locate the access points that would serve the site. The proposed site plan depicts full access on Mechanicsville Road, another full access on 4th Avenue, as well as a one-way drop-off loop, and a right-in, right-out access on 3rd Avenue. Having site access driveways on 3 different roadways helps better distribute the traffic from the site to the surrounding roadway system and doesn't overload any one particular intersection because the traffic is spread out. The site today also has good access to mass transit, as it's within a 1-minute walking distance to the Bayshore train station, and there are 3 Suffolk County Transit bus stops located along the frontages on 4th Avenue, Union Boulevard, and Mechanicsville Road. It's also located within walking distance of the downtown area and has access to many retail shops and restaurants, all of which would help to reduce traffic the project may generate. As part of my work, we conducted an as-of-right trip generation comparison. Based upon a review of the town's zoning code, the existing business district zone permits uses such as office, medical office, and retail. Therefore, I use that in my comparison. To determine the traffic these 3 alternatives would generate, I again used the ITE trip generation manual to estimate the peak number of weekday AM and PM trips for each of these different uses. Based upon the ITE data, these 3 alternative uses would generate substantially more traffic during the weekday AM and PM peak hours. More specifically, it's estimated that the alternatives would generate a minimum of 88 more trips during the weekday AM peak hour and 86 more trips during the PM peak hour. Based upon the as-of-right trip generation comparison, the proposed use would be expected to have a significantly lower impact on traffic conditions surrounding the site, and therefore would be a more appropriate use when compared to some of the other permitted uses within the BD zone. In regards to parking, I conducted a very detailed analysis to evaluate the adequacy of the 618 parking spaces provided. As part of my work, I conducted actual parking observations at 2 similar close by multifamily developments. I also reviewed ITE Parking Generation 5th edition, which again is a nationally recognized resource for estimating parking demands for uses such as the proposed. Both of the multifamily developments that I conducted parking observations at were located along 4th Avenue, directly across the street from the site. They are the same distance from the train station and have adequate access to bus service. They are also within close walking distance to the downtown. Therefore, these 2 multifamily developments, which were the Cortlandt Square and the Loft developments, would be expected to have similar parking demands when compared to the project. The parking observations at these 2 multifamily developments were conducted on a typical weekday evening between 10 p.m. and midnight. Based on those observations, the Loft development had a peak parking demand of 0.84 spaces per unit, and the Cortlandt Square project had a peak parking demand of 1.28 spaces per unit. In addition, the empirical data demands, ITE parking demand rates were also reviewed. ITE notes that multifamily developments, like the one proposed, experience an average peak parking demand of 1.19 spaces per unit. And even they provide a very conservative 85th percentile peak parking demand rate of 1.37 spaces per unit. The proposed site would provide 618 spaces, which equates to a parking ratio of 1.48 spaces per unit. Therefore, we exceed all of the empirical and ITE parking demand rates. Therefore, in my opinion, the parking provided is going to be more than adequate to accommodate both empirical parking demands we observe and the ITE average and 85th percentile peak parking demands. I should also note that the 1.4 per unit ratio resulted in close consultation with the town's planning department. Since we provide more parking than is needed to support the project, the applicant is able to land bank some parking and provide enhanced buffers along both Union Boulevard and 4th Avenue, which help to add to the curb appeal. In summary, it's my professional opinion that the parking provided will be more than adequate, and there will be more parking, and there will be no need for residents, guests, and employees to park on street. Additionally, there would be no significant impact to traffic conditions given the recommended traffic mitigation measures are implemented. Should you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Winkleman. Does anyone have any questions for the traffic engineer or the architect while he's still here? Okay, hearing none. Jean?
In summary, Madam Supervisor, the residents of this proposed residential development will patronize local businesses and restaurants to enhance and continue the revitalization and economic success of the downtown Bayshore Business District, which is really now more important than ever, given the state of our economy. The site is a transit-oriented development since it is within 1 minute walk to the Bayshore Railroad Station for transit west to Manhattan or east to Long Island. It is also located convenient to bus routes of Suffolk Transit on Union Boulevard and Main Street. The proposed development creates a walkable community to the business center 1 block south, the railroad station immediately to the north, provides bicycle access for exercise and local transit, which in turn creates health benefits, if you will, and benefits to the environment by reducing the need to operate and drive a vehicle. The proposed development provides a needed housing stock with superior amenities. It is a high quality, beautifully designed project, which will enhance the values of adjacent properties. The development is self-contained and self-maintained. It is well designed and laid out on a parcel of land that is destined to be vacant within a year and avoids a vacant, potentially difficult property to develop in a cohesive manner, as the applicant has done for the benefit of the hamlet of Bayshore. It provides jobs for the construction industry, creates millions of dollars in economic benefit during construction, and permanent jobs post-construction. It is placing property back on the tax rolls to the benefit of the town and the school district. It represents an enormous private investment in the community. And now more than ever, in a very challenging economic climate, it is critical that we support a strong sponsor, TriTech, with an exceptional reputation and track record, like the applicant does have. And with that, Madam Chairwoman, I thank Madam Supervisor, I thank you so much for your time, members of the board, and I respectfully request that the board approve the applicant's request for the change of zone to Downtown Development District.
Thank you very much, Jean. Before we go to the department, are there any questions from any members of the board right now for the applicant? Okay, let's go to the department then.
Thank you, Supervisor Carpenter, members of the board. As stated by the applicant, the proposed apartment complex meets the legislative intent of the Downtown Development District and the town's comprehensive plan. The location's proximity to downtown Bayshore will provide the local businesses with additional customers and strengthen the town's economy. The proximity to the Long Island Railroad Station is anticipated to help reduce automobile use from this location. The submitted traffic study was evaluated by the town's traffic consultant, and he agreed that the highway network would not be adversely impacted by the development. Based on this, the planning department believes the applicant has submitted an appropriate concept for the requested zoning change. Planning staff recommends that the board grant the application subject to the attached covenants with a slight revision, to reflect that the building elevations shall be in substantial conformance with those renderings that were submitted to the town board tonight at this hearing, and that the staff would work with the applicant to ensure that the Union Boulevard facing facade will be of comparable quality to that of the other 3 sides. I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you, Sean. Are there any questions of the department?
Madam Supervisor, I had a question of Mr. Colgan, if I could.
Sure.
Sean, the application provides for 618 parking spaces. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that's a 17% relaxation for what we would normally require, correct?
That's correct.
Is all of this addressed in the 11th covenant that you presented to us and that I believe applicant has likely agreed to before tonight's meeting? In that the parking relaxation from 723 spaces to 618 spaces is granted, but that should there be parking issues that evolve at the site, we can go back and revisit this. And as the applicant's experts have pointed out, with respect to the land bank parking, if there are parking problems, we can go back and address that with the land bank spaces. Is that right?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the department? Okay, hearing none, let us go to the people who have signed up to speak on the application. Mary, if you would.
I've just moved in Matthew Cohen to the panel.
Okay, just to remind Mr.
Hi.
Cohen, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, Supervisor Carpenter. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, Supervisor Carpenter, members of the Islip Town Board. Thank you for the opportunity to offer our input as part of the public hearing process for TriTech Real Estate's request to change the zoning from business district to downtown development district in Bay Shore. We also submitted written testimony earlier this morning. My name is Matt Cohen. I'm Vice President of Government Affairs and Communications for the Long Island Association, which many of you know is the leading business organization in the region. And we support TriTech's change of zone application for the proposed redevelopment project. As you know, Long Island faces a severe rental housing imbalance, which in turn has significant adverse impacts on affordability and the cost of living here. Given the region's need for multifamily housing across all income levels, the LIA fully supports the proposed development of 418 rental apartments that will attract young professionals and empty nesters alike. Downtown revitalization serves as a catalyst for economic development and regionally significant projects such as this proposed development. This particular location will generate significant economic spin-off effects in a walkable, transit-oriented neighborhood 1 block north of Bay Shore's bustling Main Street, across the street from the Long Island Railroad's Bay Shore train station, and within walking distance of Fire Island Ferries and Northwell Health's Southside Hospital. Now more than ever, it is imperative to support projects like this that will help strengthen our economic recovery. TriTech's development is forecasted to generate nearly 900 construction jobs, approximately $55 million in construction earnings, and $142 million in construction spending in Suffolk County. Furthermore, once operational, the project's residents are projected to spend nearly $13 million annually within the town of Islip and generate taxes on a property that currently collects none. Similar projects in villages like Farmingdale and Patchogue have thrived with the addition of rental housing in their downtown communities. Finally, we all know TriTech. They have an amazing reputation. They're a family-owned company with deep community ties, superb local and national reputation, and extensive experience constructing and managing real estate. With its track record of successful projects in Long Island, the LIA welcomes TriTech's commitment to invest in the town of Islip and downtown Bay Shore. And we all know Bob Coughlin, Jim Coughlin, the Coughlin family and their company very well. And we know how committed they are to Long Island, to our region, and we know how great a job they've done in other places. So with that said, I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to submit this testimony, and we respectfully request that you consider our recommendations during your deliberations. Thank you, Supervisor and Town Board.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Next speaker.
Here he comes. We have James Bond. Oh, did I say that right? Joseph Bond. James Bond would be fun.
Yeah.
Joseph, can you hear us? You may have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Joe Bond. I'm the superintendent of the Bay Shore School District. The district has been closely following the progression of this proposed development for the last several years. We have noted all that has been said publicly by the applicant, Trek Bay Shore, including tonight. During one planning board meeting, the developer told the board that every organization that they have met with in the community has supported the project. Well, there seems to be a disconnect here. As you're aware, the Bayshore School District is the largest entity and the backbone of Bayshore. I will say this to be clear. The Bayshore School District stands adamantly opposed to the Trek Bayshore application. This project has the potential to cause significant irreparable damage to the Bayshore School District. It was stated by the developer's representative and by a member of the planning board that the project will create a substantial tax benefit for the school district. This is just wrong. The tax cap that is currently in place effectively renders any taxes paid by the developer moot to the district. These concerns were acknowledged to be legitimate by the developer and by Islip Town officials during meetings with myself and my team from the school district. Further, the tax relief in the form of a pilot agreement would mean that the property would not fully come back on the tax rolls for decades. This was not once mentioned or addressed during the discussions at the planning board, but it goes beyond that. Under the property tax cap formula, pilot payments must be subtracted from the school district's tax cap calculation. If pilot payments increase annually, the amount of property taxes the school district is allowed to raise without exceeding its tax cap will decline annually. This will hurt the district. If built, the TriTech proposal could leave the district forced to absorb an unlimited number of students with no mechanism to increase revenues. The projected increase of 40 average needs students would increase expenses by approximately $1 million. Considering the potential for an unlimited number of students, a percentage of which will undoubtedly be high need students and therefore more costly to educate, the potential cost to the district could range into the millions. This would lead to a negative impact on the programs that make Bayshore a great place to educate students. It has been well established throughout Bayshore's revitalization that as goes the school district, so goes the community. Bayshore is a destination location. People move here for the programs and education our schools offer. The strength and stability of our schools is crucial for the strength and stability of our community. Thus, if something is bad for the school district, it is bad for the community. It's important for the town of Islip to listen to the community and help us to protect the future of our most precious resource, our children. We strongly urge you to oppose the change of zone and site plan modifications required for this project to be built. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Next speaker.
Mario Matera.
Is it me?
It's you.
Hello? Hi, I'm Mario Matera. How's everybody? Good evening. First of all, I want to say I hope everybody and their families are doing well during this unprecedented times. And again, I'm with everybody. I'm the business agent with Plumbers Local 200, and I represent over 1,300 hardworking men and women, and approximately 350 members live in the great town of Islip with their families. Thank you, Supervisor Carpenter and all council people for letting me speak tonight on this very important project for Long Island's future. This change of zone, the Bayshore Transit-Oriented Redevelopment Project, it's a project like this in an area that needs to be redeveloped, and it's called Progress for the Future. This project will enhance an area that needs improvement. I am proud to represent my members and their families that live in Islip. Members that got up and spoke at the planning board, not members that don't live there. My members personally, young and middle-aged and older, got up and spoke at the planning board in favor of a project that is greatly needed. 1 block from mass transit, 1 block from restaurants, retail, walking distance, foot traffic. How important foot traffic? No one has to get into a car. They walk right out of their home and walk down to a beautiful main street and make sure that's going to help bring revenue into a beautiful downtown now and for our future, and desperately needed for what's happening with the times that we're going through. Not just for construction jobs, because there's going to be plenty of those, which we need, because construction is the backbone of the economy. but the permanent jobs that this is going to create. Let's talk about TriTech Builders, one of the best builders on Long Island, and I'm going to say New York State or even around the country. You look at their architectural, they make sure that they look at the town, they look at the landscape, and they make sure they bring it together and they build an absolutely beautiful project. Look at Patchogue Village. Nobody, we could talk about this all day, Mayor Pontieri's vision. Mayor Pontieri saw what was happening to a village that was in dire straits, and he made sure he made it into a jewel. That village, my children from Smithtown go and they have fun down in a beautiful downtown village like Patchogue, and TriTech built that. Look at Port Jefferson, the project they just built down in Port Jefferson Village. Vibrant. Ronkonkoma Hub, also, the vision. They know how to build. They know Long Island. They know the landscape. They care about local jobs for local people, by the way, everybody. I'm telling you, you have an open door policy. One thing with Bob Coughlin, Jim Coughlin, and the whole staff that they hire the amazing people that care. So please, please, especially what's going on with this climate, we need projects like this for our future. Please pass this very, very important project, the Bayshore Transit oriented redevelopment project. Please, it is so, so important for our future, for our families and our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matera. Next speaker.
Susan Gargan is being promoted to panelist. Where is she? Here we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Hi, this is Susan Gargan. I'm a 52-year resident of Bayshore, and I'm adamantly opposed to this project and to the change in zoning. What I just heard, I'm going to speak to that first. Thank you for allowing me to speak, is that the person from the plumbing unit, which I also support the plumbers and unions as a union person myself, spoke about family who goes from Smithtown to Patchogue to enjoy the downtown. But he didn't say they lived in Patchogue, just that they travel there. People travel to come to Bayshore. Doesn't mean they have to live there. We are a vibrant town. We are not a city. This is going to change the landscape of the town. There are a lot of organizations that are saying they support it, but have you heard from the community members? Every community member I've spoken to is not in support of this. The parking, I'm not so sure about. The train station is dilapidated. The Islip Town has not taken care of that. Who's going to take care of that? Just because we build it doesn't mean they will come. Just because we build it doesn't mean it's going to upgrade the community. We have a beautiful community already, and I'm not looking to live in the city. I have many people, young people who travel, do not want to travel into the city. They want to live in the city. So I think that's a mistake on that part. And then not to mention the school district and 38 students, we all know that that's a large mistake. Bayshore School District is a premier district and a very important part of this community. I think this is a mistake. I think you should oppose it. And I think there are plenty of more people who feel the same way. And I appreciate the time to speak.
Thank you, Susan. Next speaker.
Give me 1 second. I had Bud Cipoletti as the next person, but I also have an Artie Cipoletti on here, so I'm not sure if you both want to speak. Are you here, Bud?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Wrote a little something to reflect my thoughts as being a West Islip resident and business owner for a very long time. TriTech's sincere interest is the benefit of the island. I've seen several downtowns, Patchogue, Port Jeff, transform. From shattered windows and abandoned spaces to panoramas and panacea. They don't just build new, attractive, and smart housing. They exhibit a symbiotic relationship with the town and its unique history in the design, through the build, and beyond. I grew in West Islip and as a longtime patron of Bayshore, this vision will serve standards and cultivate a bright future for downtown business owners and residents. Furthermore, an effort to capture the ever-increasing recreation area and Fire Island's high-end patrons. This project represents a manifestation of resilience for the community and for the residents as a whole. Let us collectively realize our chance to inherit opportunity, approve the rezone, and admire our collective contribution to Bayshore. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cipoletti. Next speaker.
Grant Hendricks. I think we can hear you, Grant, if you want to start speaking.
Oh, I apologize. I wasn't sure that I was up. Good evening, Madam Supervisor, and good evening, members of the board. I want to thank the presenters. My name is Grant Hendricks. I'm a lifelong resident of the town of Islip and in the hamlet of Bayshore. I consider myself a very active member of my community. Raising a family here, our children have gone through the Bayshore School District. My years of experience as vice chair of the Suffolk County IDA and EDC have given me a deep appreciation for the positive economic impact that a project like this can have on our community. This is a true blight to light scenario, and I feel very strongly that it is going to be something that would tremendously benefit our town. Considering all the progress that we've made, this is the next natural development that would really make our community great. So I would strongly ask the board to consider in favor of a change of zone that would make this dream a reality for our community. So therefore, I strongly support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hendricks. Next speaker.
Now we have Artie Cipoletti.
Am I up now?
You are.
Okay. I thought you skipped by me before when you had Bud Cipoletti on. Thank you, members of the board, and thank you, councilwomen, councilmen, and especially our supervisor. Thank you very much for hearing me tonight. I'm very pleased to see that the board took the time to go visit some of these TriTech projects, because these men are truly visionaries. I've been to their neighborhoods and I've been involved in a lot of their developments, and they do nothing but top class work. They will meet every expectation that's made of them, and they have a track record to prove that. The concerns that I heard the board bring up today, I'm sure are going to be easily addressed. Bayshore is in need of what they're looking to do right now. We don't have a higher end option for people that are becoming empty nesters like myself. You know, I have a big house in Islip, and it's just my wife and I at this point. I have a business in Islip. I've been a resident of Islip, and I know most of you personally. We need something like this, because we got to be able to have a place that we can move into to downsize and have the amenities that TriTech is offering us in this development. The oppositions and the facts that came up with the studies that have been done as far as the schools are concerned, if you go into these other communities, the same concerns were always brought up about the schools and about being too many children in it. These studies that they presented tonight are extremely accurate, and actually, they've actually been under what has been projected. They're not going to be overwhelmed with children from these developments. It doesn't happen. It's the facts are what they are. So you've got to move forward with a project like this, because it's the lifeline that Bayshore needs, and that the surrounding area of Islip also needs. So I strongly encourage you to consider this development and all of the benefits that it's going to bring with us. And I thank you for giving me the time to speak tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Cipoletti. Next speaker.
We have Tim McCarthy.
Am I there?
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Supervisor Carpenter, board members. My name is Tim McCarthy. I'm a business representative for the men and women of the IBEW Local 25. I'm speaking on behalf of my members to support the zone change from business district to downtown development district. These projects have proven time and time again to bring strong economic development. That economic drive results in jobs for residents, opportunities for hundreds of construction workers, and taxable incomes, be it, income taxes, sales taxes from the residencies, and then finally property taxes. And as you all know, currently that site is sitting dormant, generating no taxes for the town whatsoever. Look, people want to live here on Long Island. They want to live here because it's a great place to live. Bay Shore is a desirable place to reside. Main Street, the Long Island Railroad, and the Fire Island Ferry is just a few things that make this area so desirable, especially for our younger generations. And with what's going on in the world right now, the last thing we need to do is to stifle any kind of growth. We need jobs, jobs, jobs. TriTech's always been a responsible developer, and their prior works absolutely speak for themselves. So for all the reasons that I've stated, I energetically support the requested zone change to Triple D. Thank you for allowing me to speak on this matter this evening. Have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Next speaker.
Debbie Davy. Here we go.
Hello, you got me?
Yeah,
Okay.
I gotcha. Go ahead.
Okay. Madam Supervisor and members of the town board, I am here tonight to speak on behalf of the Long Island Builders Institute. As a life director, they have asked me to make a statement on their behalf. The Long Island Builders Institute, the region's largest residential construction trade association in New York State, wishes to express its strong support for TriTech's application to develop a transit-oriented market rate apartment development at 1700 Union Boulevard in downtown Bay Shore. This development is a major component of a major redevelopment in this area. The plan would provide many benefits to the hamlet of Bay Shore and the town of Islip, including strengthening the local economy. The project resides 1 block away from the area's Main Street, which includes many local shops and restaurants. This will make residents more inclined to shop and dine locally, benefiting small businesses. The housing units are also 1 block away from the Long Island Railroad Bay Shore train station, making it beneficial for mass transit. According to a report done by the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA, transit-oriented development increases the use of transit at nearby train stations from 20 to 40%. It will also reduce travel time, create less traffic congestion and emissions while revitalizing the neighborhood. A second advantage for the project is that it will attract and help keep young professionals on Long Island, which will help retain a talented workforce. In a study done by Newsday, 67% of people between the ages of 18 and 34 said they are expecting to leave Long Island within the next 5 years. 85% of these individuals do not want to leave Long Island, but feel forced to leave Long Island because they will not be able to afford the cost of living. Having transit-oriented development creates a more affordable cost of living and would encourage them to stay here on Long Island. The town of Islip has long been considered a leader in bringing multifaceted housing options to our region. The TriTech Bay Shore project is the next phase of bringing such options to our local community. For these reasons, the Long Island Builders Institute is in strong support of this project. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davy. Next speaker?
That was our last speaker registered to speak.
Okay. All right, then if there are no other speakers, I'd like to go back to the applicant. There were a number of issues raised to give you an opportunity to answer some of those issues and or questions.
We just have
one of
someone
the
raise their hand, Madam Supervisor.
Oh, okay. I asked this person before if they wanted to speak. I'm not sure how you want to handle this, but here they are, James Bonanno.
Yes, thank you. My name is James Bonanno. I'm the owner of the Tap Room in Bangor Bowls on Main Street in Bayshore. I also own a tap room location on Main Street in Patchogue. I happen to be a resident of the New Village Apartments on Main Street for the last 4 years. I've seen firsthand, everything TriTech said they were going to do in Patchogue, they did, and in my opinion, surpassed. I'm an extremely happy resident of the apartments. Everything they've done is first class, and I absolutely love living there. As a business owner in Patchogue, I saw the impact economically. A lot of their construction workers, they really encouraged to patronize our businesses, and they did. They were coming in for lunch. They were coming in after work. And when I heard that they were interested in Bayshore, and I was looking for another location, I had a few different deals around the island on the table, and the TriTech proposed project in Bayshore was very influential of me wanting to do more business and open another location on Main Street in Bayshore. So I just want to go on the record that I strongly support the development in Bayshore. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonanno. Is there anyone else who called in? Mary, is there?
Not that I know of. I mean, there are other names in the attendee panel that registered but said that they did not want to speak. If anybody else wants to, just raise your virtual hand, just like Mr. Bonanno just did, and we'll try to get you. But other than that, I see people here who registered but said they were not speaking.
Okay.
Anybody else?
All right, so then let us go to the applicant. I want to give you an opportunity, whether it's you or Mr. Coughlin, Jean, to address some of the concerns that were raised.
I believe one of the primary concerns that we might want to address, Madam Supervisor, is the opposition of the school district and the alleged facts that they presented. At this time, Mr. Louis Bukowski, are you prepared to address the issues raised by Joseph Bond?
I am, Jane. Thank you. And thank you, Supervisor and members of the board, for the opportunity to speak. I'm glad that you asked for that clarification, because we did do a very significant and detailed school children analysis as part of the overall project. And I would agree with the gentleman who said that, we think this will probably be a lot less than what's actually anticipated. And I'll give you the background on why we believe that. As mentioned, there are two main studies that we look at when considering school-age children, one being Vision Long Island study from 2017, and one being the REI at Stony Brook. And the reason we look at these is because they're Long Island focused, they're TOD and multifamily focused, and they are able to pull data rather than estimate from projects that have actually already been built and that are occupied. So it gives us a really good estimation of what to expect from these new multifamily projects. So for Vision Long Island, for example, they looked at 8 TODs across the island. They had 1,100 or so units, and they came up with a multiplier of 0.026, which in our case would be 11 school-age children if applied to our project. For REI, which is a little more conservative, but still gives us a good range overall, we looked at 14 market rate multifamily projects and over 4,000 units. And that comes to 1 child per every 11 unit. So it's a 0.09 multiplier. And again, when you look at that and you apply it to our project, you get a max of range of 38. And the reason why I agree that that number is probably still conservative is because if you look at the details of the REI, projects, those 14 market rate multifamily projects, and you look at how they were broken up and what the bedroom mix were. Our project, as a comparison, has significantly less 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom, and we have 0 4-bedroom. But that multiplier of 0.09 was based on a handful of projects that have much higher, a greater number of 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, and 4-bedroom apartments. So as an example, the REI only had, out of the 4,000 units, only 2% were studios, where we're offering 12%. Only 42% were 1-bedroom, we're offering 57%. So again, I think the gentleman who spoke about the expectations and the impacts to the school district, I think they've been overstated. And I do think that our project, which is on a site that's currently generating 0 tax revenue, will be a net positive to the school district in the long term. We did look at the financial impacts as well as part of this analysis. We know that based on New York State SED data, that it costs about $25,000 to educate a student. And that number is the largest number you can use in these analyses because it includes classroom expenses, transportation expenses, debt service, admin, all of those types of costs. And it's important to realize that 62% of those costs are borne by the local taxpayers. The rest is state and federal aid. So when you do that math, we know that there will be a tax surplus for the school district. Our very, very, very conservative estimate that we've discussed internally would put tax generated around $2 million annually. And when you look at that, about 70% of that or so goes to the school district and to the library. That's about $1.3 million or so, which leaves a surplus to the school district of almost $800,000 a year. And again, we're on a site that's right now producing 0. So it's a net gain for the school. It's a net gain for the community from all the economic benefits that you've already heard. And I think it's important also to consider the other projects that TriTech has done. We've heard a lot about Port Jeff and Ronkonkoma, Patchogue. And if you look at the school-age children that have been generated at those projects, which are similar or we marketed to the similar type of tenant, we have 3 school-age children at the shipyard in Port Jeff. We have of the occupied units at Ronkonkoma so far, we have 7 school-age children, and in New Village and Patchogue we have 15. So that gives you a range of about 0.3 to 0.5. And if you look at the 628 units that TriTech has occupied in these projects, there's only 25 school-age children right now. And those are real numbers. These are not estimates that we have to come up with. These are actual counts of actual school-age children. And again, I think you look at the comparison to the Patchogue and to Farmingdale. The LIRPC came out with a great report done by Forward Planning, which also used the REI Stony Brook multipliers. And if you look at the surplus to the school districts in Farmingdale and in Patchogue, there are significant surpluses. Patchogue Medford has 3.2 million surplus annual to the school district, and Farmingdale has a 1.3 million net surplus to the school district. So, again, I think based on these facts, I think the concerns from the school district, while obviously appreciated, I think everyone has the best intent for Bay Shore, are overstated, and we feel very confident that this project will help the community and not hurt the school district at all.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this particular point by any of the board members?
Not on that particular point, but I do have a different question.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Okay, so local labor, this is for the applicant or his representative. Local labor and the use of local labor is very important to the growth of our community. And I don't want to, if this application is approved, drive into the work area and listen to and see driver's plates from New Jersey. So where is the promise to me that local labor, if this is approved, is going to be utilized?
Mr. Coughlin?
I think you heard it from the BAs that we use all local labor when possible. I think you heard it from the electrical union, the plumbers union. I'm sure you get the same comment from the carpenters or any other unions you speak with. In addition, we also use a lot of open shop groups as well. I don't think, we have not heard a concern from the construction industry about our use of local labor.
That would be buttressed, Madam Councilwoman, by the fact that the union representatives, who are all local people, indicated their support for this application.
Councilwoman, any other questions?
No, thank you. I just wanted to hear it from the applicant himself, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the applicant? I did have a question.
Oh, sorry, we have a virtual hand
Oh, go ahead.
from another Coghlan.
I don't know if Jim's having a difficult time speaking. But
Can you hear me?
there you are.
We can hear
Yeah,
you.
I had raised my hand when the labor question came up. I think Bob adequately addressed it, but I also would supplement that a little bit by, I'd say we are the largest private employer of local construction union trades that I know of on the island. I'm president of Long Island Builders Institute, and I know pretty much how everybody operates out here, and we're committed to it, and we're committed to local labor as much as physically possible. I think on our Patchogue job, we had one contractor who was a specialty small, like 400 grand out of $100 million that was from Virginia, because we couldn't find that type of contractor on Long Island. But otherwise, we hire local labor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
I did have a question. There was some reference made to the fact that there was going to be on-site management. Are we talking someone residing there as a property manager 24/7?
Yeah, there'll be representatives there 24/7. The leasing office is there 7 days a week. I don't have the staffing, Kelly might on top of her head, but it's 3 or 4 people full-time during the daytime. We usually have a security, or we offer a discount for an officer to live in one of the units overnight, and they're all, usually we have access to police protection in the evening as well.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question, Madam Supervisor.
Sure.
And it's just going back really to the issue of the Union Boulevard elevation. Mr. DiNicola, it was great to hear from the labor unions tonight. I'm a member of the same union you are. I'm sitting here in my law office. And so when I don't see something in paper as a covenant and restriction like the ones we've seen, it makes me nervous. But you did hear from staff, particularly Planner Colgan, condition his recommendation of approval on the fact that the applicant will continue to work with the planning department to make sure that the elevations on Union will be addressed, right?
That is correct.
And I heard Mr. Coghlan acknowledge that earlier tonight as well.
And he's nodding his head in agreement right now. And maybe you want to put it on the record, Mr. Coghlan?
Sure, yes, yeah. As we stated before, we'll work with the town board or the planning to make sure that that the Union Avenue side is the same or better quality as the other 3, the sides that you saw in the renderings.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Before we go on, are there any other questions for the department? Any clarifications or anything? Okay, then if there are no other questions or comments to be had, I would make a motion to close the public hearing, adopt a negative declaration, and approve the application. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 in favor, and I do believe Mr. Cochran is recusing himself.
Hughes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Had a hard time hearing you. Thank you. 4 in favor, 1 recusal. The application is approved. Thank you very much.
Madam Supervisor. Thank you, members of the board. We know you'll be very pleased with this project, and and that the town will be enormously, receive enormous benefits, as well as our business district in Bay Shore, which has really come back like I have never seen it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And just to remind everyone that as you're working with the planning department on those elevations in particular for Union Boulevard, it probably would be helpful to keep the board apprised of your progress.
We will, I was just going to say that, Madam Supervisor, as they are doing these elevations with planning, we will ask them to keep the town board apprised and make sure that they're satisfied, and if they have any comments that we can address.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, everyone. There is no other business before us this evening. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.